to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
We're rolling, by the way.
We're rolling.
No, it's not you, it's him. This is Umar Ahmed, Fryfield TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're at Tottenham Hotspur.
I'm going to strip off a little bit because I'm warm.
Okay.
You know, a bit of movement there. Yeah, hello.
I thought you said you were going to strip off.
No, well, I'm not going to completely strip off. I only do that at Tyson Fury after parties. Maybe there'll be one later on, who knows.
Gareth, what did you make of that press conference?
Well, I mean, Derek's always bizarre, isn't he? And that's what he brings. He brings bizarre to the ring. He brings bizarre with his words. He's trying to call Eddie Hearn during it to sell the stadium out, to try and insult Frank Warren. You know, he's acting like he's been dragged here kicking and screaming, but he's probably going to earn a very sizable amount of money. I expect it's probably between £1 million and £2 million for this fight, you know. Tyson Fury said the right thing about them. They're different fighters from when they fought back in 2014 and 2011. I think they will deliver. There's a weird things happen in boxing and in heavyweight boxing, and Derek Chisora knows he's got a chance. I think he's a huge outsider in this fight. I think he probably will get outboxed. I don't know if necessarily stopped, because he's incredibly tough, Derek, but he's been stopped since they fought last. And Tyson stopped him the second time. But what did I make of the press conference? Look, there's a lot of negativity about this because it's you know, Fury-Chisora 3 for the WBC heavyweight title, and we wanted Alexander Usyk, and they wanted Alexander Usyk undisputed, and then they wanted Anthony Joshua, and it didn't work. Because, you know, it just didn't work for Anthony Joshua, and for all the reasons that we understand why. It was the wrong time for an endgame fight for Joshua. So we've got the next best possibility. I think interest will grow. I think people will come and watch the event. But what did I make of the press conference? I mean, the two men clearly respect each other. I mean, we don't get Derek throwing tables anymore, do we? Which maybe we could have done with there. A bit of table throwing. He said he wanted to rob Tyson Fury of 10,000 quid that Frank Warren had given him as a side bet on the fact that Fury had bet Warren 10 grand that Anthony Joshua wouldn't sign for the fight, so Frank Warren rolled up with his 10 big ones today. So that, you know, I wondered if Derek was looking for a way in to cause a bit of mayhem today, but maybe he doesn't need to do that anymore. Derek of old would have caused some mayhem here today.
Well, as he said, he was messing around with Frank a little bit, said he's going to get Eddie on the phone and try and sell the stadium out, and then Tyson and Frank hit back and said this is the second world title shot that Frank's given you.
Yeah, when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, I was there for that fight. I covered it years ago. That was the infamous night where Derek Chisora and David Haye brawled at the post-fight press conference. I remember kind of ducking, getting out of the way of tripods, and he glassed me and all those things, and David saying he was being stalked around London in restaurants by Derek Chisora. Obviously they fought that year, and it was all settled under the auspices of the Luxembourg Boxing Board of Control, because Derek wasn't licensed then. Then we had the Olympics. It was a great night, 18,000 naughty people at West Ham's ground, as it was West Ham then, and it was a great night. David Haye winning by fifth round knockout, and of course they became friends and manager and boxer afterwards. Look, I think Derek was trying to spike things in there as much as he could. What was he saying, Frank? We should be wearing a dress.
Yeah, what was
I don't know. I think his illusions are that you. I don't know what they were actually, but I think it's something like you give your wife your credit card and that kind of stuff, and that's what I don't know. But it was never explained, so I don't actually know what he meant. To be honest, I'll take you back to 3 weeks ago when I had both of them. You were there.
Oh, yeah.
I had the Talk Sport microphone, and they kicked off, didn't they, when I was interviewing Tyson? Derek came up. you know, it did 5 million views on TalkSport. I don't know if I told you already, but it did 5 million views.
So there's clearly interest.
Yeah, but they kicked off more there than they have today, and I think maybe that generated some kind of interest in this fight. Maybe helped to get it over the line, the fact that they went head to head that day. I mean, yours did numbers as well, because you filmed it
But
as
you
well.
had it first, so you know.
And first, I just happened to be there doing the live broadcast for TalkSport, interviewing Tyson, and Derek came up. And I had Derek with his arm over one shoulder, and I had my arm, you know, it just happened, didn't it? And I think it probably stimulated the fight happening.
An interesting point on that, actually. We know to the hardcore, this isn't going to sell. Let's just be honest, to the hardcore boxing fan. But to the casual fan, does this still sell?
Yeah, I think the stadium, it'll have 50, 60,000 people in it. I don't think there's much doubt about that. People want to come and see the Tyson Fury experience now, don't they? They'll sing American Pie. You know, Frank Warren's put his young fighter, Daniel Dubois, who's the regular champion for the WBA on, and in a fight he's got an opportunity to show himself. I do worry about December the 3rd. It's going to be cold and raining. I know. But, you know, it's good that we've got a big event around December time. We'd all have loved the Fury-Joshua fight, but we never believed in it fully. We're always sceptical about it.
Just moving away from this, I wouldn't say there's been any needle, but there's been a few back and forths between TalkSport and IFL TV, so you're a good man to talk to. I don't know if you've seen it. Spencer and Oliver and Simon Jordan have launched their new show, Talk Boxing, and Simon had some words to say about Coogan. Have you seen them and your thoughts on them?
Yeah, what was the line that he said about Coogan?
Can't remember. I don't want to misquote him.
Well, Simon Jordan is a man with a lot of opinions. He's very opinionated. You know, he's a very articulate man. He's very intelligent, and you know, I just think, you know, he's getting a platform on boxing, isn't he? I mean, he's not from the boxing world. I've spoken to him today. I mean, I called him a big mouth before on another interview, and he didn't like it. And I didn't mean a big mouth, because I like Simon, and I would consider us to be work colleagues and friends in that sense. But he's got a lot of opinions on boxing, and I think when he talks about boxers sometimes, I think he forgets what the sport is. It's different to football, losing a football match, being in a fight and getting beaten up. It's different, and you have to know it's different. It's not. He's got such a big voice, because they give him that platform on TalkSport, that I think he could watch his words a little bit more carefully with boxers. You do have to be sympathetic. Spencer Oliver and I felt very sympathetic towards Anthony Joshua after his last fight against Alexander Usyk. When someone has given their all and they've lost, or they've been beaten up, or fighting's different, and you've got to appreciate that.
Okay. Just to counter that, though, his point I saw, you know, when he was talking about Frank Smith, and we'll come on to that in a second, but his point is that people in boxing media are too friendly with certain people, and he doesn't give, in his words, a monkey's about what people think about him.
Well, let's see how long he's in the inner circle of boxing, if he actually comes in and comes to events and actually interviews people and talks to people and understands the nuance. You know, it's a bit like the Ben Eubank story. I mean, I've spoken to you about it a few times. I mean, I'm working on that story the whole time behind the scenes. People don't want to talk too much about it, but they'll talk to you because they know what you do. They'll talk to you off the record, and they're filling you in the picture. But a lot of it is under legal wraps at the moment. You have to have that. Look, boxing can be so morally bankrupt at times, and it really can be. And boxing's a weird world. It's a very strange place, and it's more of a business than a sport sometimes. But yet it is a sport as well. But it is a fight as well. It's at the end of the day, it's about prize fight. Let me just check what Derek's doing. Hang on.
Go on. Having a mess about. Really,
Yeah, I didn't want to miss that.
Gareth, I think Tyson's going to come in a bit to do sort of the roundtables written press, so you'll have to go for that. Just a last question. I know you saw my interview with Frank Smith. There was some needle that came off that between Simon Jordan and Frank Smith. So, yeah, what was your thoughts?
The questions? No, I thought you were
No, not because of the questions, because he called Simon Jordan a failed businessman who's ended up on the radio. That's what he said, and Simon bit back on TalkSport the other day. What did you make of the interview with Frank Smith?
Well, Frank couldn't give you many answers because a lot of it was. They were very good questions, and there were a lot of questions there that he didn't have the answers for at the time, and we don't have them yet. Defence of Ben, the B sample, all those kind of things that you're asking. I watched into it; it was very good. I mean, he talked his way around it and he got out of it, but you know, he was slicker than Fast Eddie at times in that interview. Look, I don't want to have opinions about people in the sport so much as report on the sports. And you know, we've all got personalities and we've all got egos, but you know, I think Simon can be very spiky about things, and it's like I jumped in an interview with Eddie Hearn the other day because he said, "Oh, there's one of those people that was," and I jumped in with him, but people saying, "You backed off." No, I didn't. I was just having a discussion with him. I don't come and row with Frank Warren and row with Bob Aaron and row with, but you're trying to find out and ascertain what's going on in the sports.
But on a serious issue like PEDs and drugs, which is the most serious in boxing, has Simon then got a point?
Yeah, I mean, about what?
About how forceful he's been with his words.
He was absolutely right about that. It was morally and ethically wrong for that fight, for any fight to go ahead if one of the boxers anyone has tested positive for a banned substance. Because it was the main event, because they wanted to get the fight over the line, I'm going to have to go. I have to go.
You definitely have to go, mate. Go on, mate.
It should never have gone.
I'm going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.